Welcome back to Any Recapped. Today we'll show you the series Arifureta. Let us know in the comments if you enjoy the recap. Let's begin. The story opens with Hajime Nagumo being tossed into the Orcus Labyrinth, populated with monsters scarier than anything he's ever seen. A predator rabbit first assaults him, but shortly after, a bear monster emerges and kills the bunny before devouring him. Nagumo yells in response, and as he prepares to flee, the bear turns toward him. The creature captures him, severing his arm and devouring it. Despite the excruciating agony, Hajime flees by transmuting his way deep into the earth, where he discovers a divinity stone that forms a continually replenishing pool of ambrosia healing fluid, enabling him to survive the amputation of his arm. There, he criticizes his choice to save his companions and laments the fact that they never came to his aid. In flashbacks, it is revealed that Hajime lacks combat skills and that his sole actual talent is transmute, which allows him to alter matter. When his group entered the dungeon, they were met by a behemoth. While his class was behind him, attempting to encourage him and find a method to get rid of the monster, he held out the front line on his own. However, after rescuing Kare, he started to escape in order to rejoin his comrades, but one of his group mates attacked him deliberately and shoved him over the abyss. In another flashback, Shirasaki warns him not to go to the Orcus Labyrinth with their party, explaining that she witnessed a dream in which he plunged into darkness, and despite her yelling, Nagumo did not react, and that she couldn't locate him even after racing after him. He then informs her that since his profession as a synergist is so widespread, he will need her to heal his wounds if he is hurt, and she promises to protect him. In the depths, Hajime remembers the one who attacked him and swears to exact his revenge when he catches up with them. He then begins to crack due to extreme hunger and believes he does not deserve all of this pain. He swears to do whatever it takes to get home and starts hunting the exceptionally powerful wolves using traps. When he eats one, he begins to experience excruciating agony and begins vomiting since the monster's blood cells aren't petite. However, the only thing that relieves his incessant agony is lying down in a tiny pond of ambrosia that is found there since it contains healing water. His body changes, his hair goes white, and he grows considerably stronger due to the continual ripping apart of his muscles caused by the symbiosis of his and the monster's DNA and the healing of the ambrosia. After his metamorphosis, he starts to hunt more monsters, devouring them to absorb their physical and magical skills and improve his levels. He acquires a new talent that allows him to detect various types of rocks. He uses his transmutation skill to construct formidable weapons through trial and error, creating his first handgun, Donner. He goes on a hunt, certain that he can now kill tough monsters, and comes upon the bear who ate his arm. He first misses a couple of bullets and is about to be tackled. However, he deploys a smoke bomb to temporarily blind his sight. As he kills him, the bear's arm detaches from his body and Nagumo eats it, taunting his opponent. He then shoots the bear in the head in order to kill him before searching for a path further into the abyss. In the meantime, a blonde girl is seen chained. Nagumo cooks the bear's meat and continues to eat to level up. When he no longer gains them, he goes to locate the labyrinth's exit, but he has yet to learn which level he is on. He only remembers that the crystal took them to the 65th level, from where he plunged. He stumbles upon a massive lizard, the eyes of which seem to have effects on the opponents. Nagumo blinds it with a flash bomb and defeats it. Meanwhile, the hero party notifies the king of Hajime's death and says they touched a crystal on the 30th level, transporting them to the 65th floor. The king, unable to accept a hero's death, prohibits any mention of the tragedy. Through flashbacks, Shizuku, Kori's friend, reveals that the Pope called their high school class and their teacher to this planet to serve as heroes in humankind's fight against demons and monsters. Humanity is on the verge of extinction due to frequent clashes with the demon kind, and these warriors are its last hope. While practicing with her sword outdoors, she hears her classmate Hayama mumbling to himself over the event. He is the one who purposefully assaulted Nagumo and threw him into the labyrinth, expecting he would be dead by now. He's behaving oddly and convincing himself that no one witnessed him assault Hajime. Shizuko approaches him and asks if he wants to practice with her, but he declines. Meanwhile, Hajime Nagumo ultimately arrives at a massive stone door, and two giants appear when he attempts to open it. Hajime effortlessly defeats the first with his handgun. On the other hand, the second is wearing magical armor and continues to shield his face with his arms. After considerable deliberation, Hajime recognizes his weakness and beats the Guardian. When he notices that there are no keys, he understands that the only place they could be is in the Guardians' bodies, and he retrieves keys from their corpses. Meanwhile, Kaori remains steadfast in her determination to locate Hajime. She believes that they will have no way of knowing even if he is dead, so she will continue to assume he is alive. Shizuko offers to assist her in traveling to the labyrinth and rescuing Hajime. Behind the doors, Hajime discovers a cubic crystal, which gradually reveals a blonde female with enchanting eyes. but he chooses to leave her. She begs for his assistance, but he dismisses her request. However, when she confesses that her people betrayed her, Hajime comes around since he can relate. She professes to be an immortal vampire princess who has aided her people. However, since they no longer needed her and since her uncle desired her position, they chose to imprison her in the labyrinth because they couldn't kill her. After hearing her heartbreaking tale, Hajime sets her free. She requests Hajime for a new name since she wants to get rid of her old one, and he calls her Yu after the moon because her golden hair reminds him of moonlight. However, they are attacked from behind when they are seated there, and Hajime injures himself while protecting her. A gigantic scorpion creature attacks Hajime and Yu. Hajime confronts the monster but is unable to strike it since the bullets have no effect on its body. Yu suddenly feeds on Hajime's blood while he attempts to repel the monster. After regaining her power, she unleashes a spell that manifests as a sphere of blue flames. It crushes the scorpion's body, but Hajime warns her that it is insufficient. She performs the magic again, and this time it injures the scorpion, allowing Hajime to shoot his body. The scorpion is subsequently killed by the two. While eating the meat, Hajime informs Yu that all vampires were eliminated 300 years ago, making her the last vampire, and she might be pretty old now. She demands an apology for being rude and then informs him that she doesn't seem older due to her large quantity of mana, making her immune to aging. Yu explains that the labyrinths were constructed by mavericks, strong magical users who were sent down as messengers by the deities but failed in their quest to confront the gods during the Age of Gods. Since they fled into hiding after enraging God, they each built a labyrinth as sanctuaries from God's wrath, and may yet be alive on the lowest levels. Hajime transforms the scorpion's shell into Schligen, a weapon. Then Hajime tells Yu how he was deceived but no longer cares about his friends or even vengeance. He only wants enough power to return to Japan, and because Yu no longer has a home, he invites her to accompany him. When Yu hears this, she bursts into tears and tells him that his terrible past is unbearable, but he assures her not to worry. Meanwhile, Hajime's classmates decide to re-enter the maze with only success as an option. Back in the maze, Hajime and Yu approach a level where all creatures chase them. As they approach a secure spot, Hajime analyzes the situation and concludes that they have been infected and are being controlled psychically by a plant-like creature. When he glances behind him, he discovers Yu is infected, and she begins attacking him while constantly apologizing. However, Hajime's previous consumption of a monster renders him immune to the virus and her assaults are unaffected. The creature soon emerges behind Yu, keeping her hostage. Hajime instantly draws his gun and kills the monster. Yu chastises him for firing at her right away, and he responds that he isn't going to miss the target. Later, as Hajime is eating, he offers Yu some meat, but she refuses, claiming that she has already consumed enough of his blood. She then strips naked and seduces Hajime by drinking his blood. Following their dinner, they continue their trip by venturing further into the dungeon. After exploring the ruins for a few days, they arrive at the lowest level and see a large entrance heading somewhere. They are ready to fight the last monster since they think it's a boss chamber. They see gorgeous crystal pillars standing in the chamber when they enter the door. They see a door and proceed, but as they near the center, the floor begins to shine. Hajime and Yu face the last enemy, a six-headed hydra-like creature. They begin fighting them, but all of their strikes are futile since each head of their opponent plays a different function. When they hurt one of the heads, the white one heals it, and Hajime informs Yu that they must first defeat it. On the other hand, the yellow one quickly begins guarding the other heads while the black one strikes. The black one confronts Yu and presents her with a vision in which Hajime abandons her. When Hajime realizes that she has been attacked, he rushes to her aid and transmutes a barrier to keep them safe. She tells him she's delighted he hasn't abandoned her, and he kisses her in return. The two then resolve to confront the adversary. The black head unleashes his crazy assault on Yu once again, but she remembers Hajime's kiss and says she won't be infected this time. The opponent then attempts to harm Hajime by reminding him of the time the bear ate his arm. However, Hajime is undeterred and kills it in retaliation. He succeeds in destroying 3 heads, including the healing head, with Schligen, while Yu eliminates the remaining 3 with flaming spheres that emit lightning. Before they can unwind, a 7th head appears and assaults them. Hajime gets wounded while defending Yu, and Schligen is destroyed. When Yu notices Hajime is unconscious, she brings him to safety and attempts to strike the enemy with his revolver. However, she is unable to approach the enemy and is harmed as a result. The adversary is preparing to kill her, and Yu tries reaching for the revolver to defend herself. Even though he is asleep, Hajime hears Yu weeping and saves her just before she's going to be attacked by the monster. He mysteriously boosts his speed to the point that he can avoid any strikes. Then he orders Yu to unleash her magical assault on his signal, and he places many explosives in the chamber's ceiling. As the explosives detonate throughout the chamber, the ceiling falls over the enemy's body, enabling Yu to destroy its head with lightning permanently. The last door opens as the enemy is beaten, and Hajime collapses from tiredness. Yu moves nearer to him, wraps her arms around his shoulders, and the two fall asleep. Meanwhile, Hajime's instructor, Eiko Hareyama, who has also been called a hero, debates with the Pope, who insists on re-entering the labyrinth. The Pope promises to send only volunteers as long as Eiko continues to use her fertility magic to help the kingdom's poor agriculture. Later, when the heroes enter the labyrinth, everyone promises Kaori that they will do all in their power to assist her in finding and rescuing Hajime, and she thanks them. As Hajime wakes in bed, he discovers that he is naked, sleeping with Yu, and has lost his right eye. He then awakens her and inquires about their whereabouts, to which she responds that they are at the Maverick's home. She then collects a plethora of outfits for him, but is unable to locate one for herself. They decide to take a tour of the area and discover that it has its own sky, with a bright sun shining all around the mansion. Later, they enter a mysterious residence, and Hajime warns Yu to be cautious. As they approach a chamber, they find Maverick's skeleton in front of a magical circle. When Hajime enters the circle, a magic that triggers a recording left behind by the Maverick forces him to analyze his memories. The Maverick identifies himself as Oscar Orcus and believes Hajime is worthy of learning the truth about the Maverick/God fight since he defeated his maze. When Hajime's classmates reach the 65th level of the labyrinth, they run into the behemoth that they think murdered Hajime. They claim, however, that they are not as weak as previously and will not allow another comrade to die before assaulting the monster. After a combined battle, they beat the monster and proceed to the lower levels. Meanwhile, Oscar bestows strength and memories on Hajime before departing. Hajime suddenly experiences a shock in his brain before getting back up. He realizes the Mavericks were liberators and reveals he inherited Oscar's ancient creation magic, which allows him to imbue magical characteristics into transmuted materials to create artifacts. They bury Oscar, and Hajime removes his ring, which controls a surface gateway. Later, Hajime makes the decision to conquer all of the labyrinths for their ancient magics. Over the course of 2 months, Hajime makes the most of Oscar's riches, library, and workshop, constructing weapons and vehicles and providing himself with a sophisticated prosthetic limb and a mystical diamond to replace his eye. Yu continues to seduce him, so he offers her a magical ring and tells her that his schemes will ultimately turn them against the church and their god, Ihit. As they teleport to the surface, Yu promises to stick with him. Shihalia, a rabbit girl, waits eagerly at where Hajime and Yu are expected to come. She is, however, assaulted by a twin-headed dinosaur. They arrive just as the monster is ready to attack her, but is repulsed by the magic circle's beam and flees. She begins calling for them and goes after them when they arrive. On the other hand, Hajime and Yu try to ignore her since she is rather obnoxious. After seeing her determination never to give up, Hajime ultimately chooses to listen to her, and she tells him that monsters are attacking her tribe. She predicted that Hajime would assist them by using her magical ability to foretell the future. Hajime ignores her, but Yu agrees in exchange for her assistance to guide them to the great tree referenced in Oscar's books. In the forest, a little rabbit is going to be attacked by a monster, but Hajime and Yu come just in time to rescue him. Then he throws Shi into the air to attract monsters, effortlessly defeating the collected monster. The whole tribe praises them, and Hajime continues to assist them in resolving their differences with other races, and they begin to live happily. Later that night, Shi acknowledges that they have never been this relaxed before and thanks Hajime for his support before asking him to accompany them on their voyage. Later, the rabbit men want instruction from Hajime because they are weary of being powerless. As they continue to pick up flowers and play with them during their training, Hajime attempts to overcome their inherent rabbit-like timidity. As a result, he smashes the blossoms and subjects them to a ruthless training regimen of kill monsters or I'll kill you instead, transforming them into fierce monster killers. Meanwhile, she is fighting Yu, and after several attempts, she finally succeeds in scratching her face. Yu, on the other hand, quickly cures it and refuses to irritate her. She is happy with her accomplishment, and when Hajime comes, he asks Yu if she has become stronger. She responds that her strength is comparable to that of a monster, which makes him delighted. Later, the rabbit people guide them to a tree that Hajime concludes is the gateway to another labyrinth. However, a nearby stone slab with holes for rings like Oscar's convinces Hajime that this labyrinth will only open once he has vanquished previous labyrinths. The rabbit men ask Hajime to join them on their journey, but he declines. They then resolve to keep practicing and watching over the tree until Hajime returns. She, who has fallen in love with Hajime, joins in on their journey, and Yu is obliged to accept her since she technically won a battle by scratching Yu's face. Will Hajime and Yu be able to conquer all the other labyrinths? What do you guys think? For now, you have been fantastic. Thank you for watching. Bye.